Right. So let me start introducing myself, Richard, to the audience. Right. So Richard Lee, Senior Portfolio Manager, Emirates NBD Asset Management. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. Thanks, Farooq, for the confirmation. Right. So quick introductions to Richard. He's a Senior Portfolio Manager with Emirates NBD Asset Management. And he's going to talk about an employer's perspective on asset management careers in the Emirates. Now, let me give you a profile of Richard, right? He's the co-manager for several listed funds investing both regionally and globally, apart from managing the discretionary mandate for large institutions. A member of the team at ENBD Asset Management since 2007, that's almost for 14 years now. Richard has helped in establishing and driving the in-house research team. Prior to joining ENBD Asset Management, Richard was head of research at Amana Raya Investment Management, an asset manager owned by a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund. He's also held various research roles over a 6-year period at CIMB Group, one of the largest Asian investment banks. I've known Rich for many years now. You'd probably say too many years, but he's got lots of experience. He's going to talk about his professional journey, careers and asset management in the UAE, key qualifications and skills, his frank feedback and advice after interacting with many candidates, as a recruiter and as a mentor. Richard's been a CFA charter holder since 2000. That's like more than 2 decades now. He's been an active volunteer of various initiatives of the CFA Institute and the CFA Emirates Society, and he's a past president of CFA Society. So over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Tupinot. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Sorry, I was disconnected in between, so I really missed the introduction. I assume everything that Binod said was good, so let's get started. Can you see my presentation or?
Yes, we can see your presentation,
Okay.
Richard. Yeah.
All right. So the title of today's session, for my part, is at least is launching an investment career 101. And before we go into my side of the story and all that, I just thought maybe we could have a short reality check here. I think I was discussing with Binod on the sequence of the presentation, and the last was maybe we give you the good news first and then the bad news later. But I think given that this is toward the end of the session, out of a three-part series, I just thought give you a reality check, get at least the bad news out of the way, and then we come back into what we really can do, what you can do to move this forward to a successful launch. Now, this is the reality. There's no shortage of applicants for investment career. Even at my own firm, there has been a significant amount of applications coming in, writing for unpaid internship, paid internship, for job opportunities, for different roles. There have always been a lot of applicants, whether it's in my firm or other companies. There are just so many. If you look at the number of candidates for CFA curriculum or other curriculum, they are just a continuous flow of applicants, people who want to get into the investment careers. Okay, whether this is the right thing to do or not, let's not discuss it at this moment, but this is the situation we are facing today. High number of applicants out there for investment career. Now, are there that many vacancies to absorb a growing number of applicants? The reality looks like it is not. Yeah, I mean, the industry seems to be doing fairly well in terms of growing their assets and all that across the board, whether it's passive or active, yeah, they are just gathering assets year after year, month after month. But are they hiring more people to manage these assets? From my experience, from my conversation with my fellow colleagues, whether within the firm or outside the firm, it is not really the case. There have not been a corresponding rising number of hiring for whether in this region or outside of this region. So you have a high number of applicants for low number of vacancies. So what do we get? A rising displaced aspirants. So every now and then I'll receive emails from in my LinkedIn mailbox, people who are looking for opportunities. And occasionally there have been situations where they will voice their disappointment not being able even to secure an interview. And it's not that they are not qualified or anything. They have done they have got their university degree, they have done the extracurricular activities, they have got even maybe the CFA qualification, passing the 3 levels, but they're just not getting the opportunities to sit in front of the company to show that they can do the job. So you have high number of applicants, low number of vacancies, a rising number of misplaced aspirants for this industry. So this is the situation. Now, the fact that you're sitting in front of this computer right now and you're listening to this conversation, you spend the last 2 hours listening to the fixed income, the hedge fund side, and then the recruiter, and now me on the fundamental driven buy side. I think you have done the right thing to come here and to show that you're committed to give this industry a shot. Now, how do we launch this career for you? Maybe I can just have a look at the space shuttle. I mean, we're all familiar with the launching of a spacecraft. It takes only 10 seconds to launch, the countdown, 10, 9, 2, 1. But do you know how much efforts, time, processes being thrown into this to ensure that 10 seconds when it ends is a successful launch? This is how long it takes. 5 months of preparation for NASA. I understand the space shuttle kind of program has been resigned about 10 years ago now, 2011. But I think when they did it in the past, it took about 5 months to launch. 750,000 of work hours, 750,000 of work hours to launch it, to make sure the 10 seconds when it ends is a successful launch. And millions of processing steps that they have to go through every single step of it to ensure that there's no mistakes and the launch will be a success. Now, I actually equate this kind of launch to your career launch that you are pursuing today. Yes, it may take only 10 seconds to successfully launch that, but you have to put in months of preparation. You have to put in a lot of work hours, and there will be there will be a lot of steps, maybe not millions of processing steps, but there are a lot of steps along the way. Now you have to stay committed to do that. It is not these sessions that we are doing today is not a Harry Potter kind of a moment where someone, flip a magic wand and then you get a job. No, you have to stay committed. You know the facts, which is a lot of people like you pursuing this career, and there are not that many places out there. And you have to be prepared and committed to put in the efforts, go through the steps, and then do this long march for success. Before we go into other areas, I think I will start with my career story, and I will share with you the career story of the people that I know of and the findings, and then followed by their advice to you, my advice to you, and then we go to the Q&A. So this is my story. Now I got a break into the investment careers in the mid-90s. Back then, I think the industry was growing. I think it's easier for people like me to get into the investment field. And then particularly, I got help with a family friend who introduced me to a firm that was hiring. So I got a job with a sell side brokerage. Back then, I didn't go straight from my college into this career. I actually went through 3 different jobs, 2 in the human resource kind of areas, and 1 in an investment service a company, and over a period of about 3 years. So it took me about 3 years from college to getting into the investment industry. Now, my first taste of the investment industry didn't last very long. Soon after, 2-3 years later, there was the Asian financial crisis back in 1997, and abruptly I was out of job for a while. And what did I do during those periods? I continued with my CFA curriculum, and then soon I was back in the sell side research again. I took a pay cut, and doing it very gradually, and then in 2007 I came over to the UAE and got a job with Emirates NBD Asset Management Company, and that's where I have been over the last 14 years, from starting with research and then slowly moving into the portfolio management side, managing the money for high net worth individual institution, and then running the funds that we have in the firm. Now, the questions that you probably have, I think the questions that very regularly asked by people like you will be, 1, how did they get in? When did they get into a break? How did they get a break into the investment industry? And then second, how did they actually get the job? And then lastly, what's their advice to you, people like you? So I did a little survey with a fellow people, 1 equity manager, 1 bond manager, 2 buy side analysts, and then 1 sell side analyst. Now they collectively they have multiple decades of experience collectively, but each of them has about 7 to 20 years of experience. And these are the 3 questions that I asked them, as I mentioned before. Now the findings are as follow. Now when they get started, 3 out of them actually did a trainee program out of the university. So they quite blessed, quite lucky to get a trainee program fresh out of school. 3 out of them got out of the 5, they got a trainee program, launched them into the investment career immediately after the university. 2 of them actually was a mid-career change. They did something else, and then they moved into investment career. So what actually got them the job? Okay, 1 actually was star. 1 of them, I think a few of them actually was a connection. They actually got a family, friends, someone that actually introduced them to the firm. And the other area is actually they were very active in extracurricular activities, and that helped them to launch into this career. Some is actually 1 of them is actually very high GPA that got them the interview and got them the job, and the rest is actually they aced the interview. How did they do it? They stay very collected during a high pressure interview. They will be able to think out of the box. They have been able to prove, during that interview that they can handle the pressure and get the job done in this kind of environment. And just a short advice to you is, you really, the advice to you is, you really need to expand your network. This is a very critical part. You need to read a lot, not just to stay current in your understanding of whether it's in the market or in world events. And you really need to also be very passionate about this career, because to show that you are committed. Because like I mentioned at the start of this session, is there are a lot of people like you pursuing this career. Now, how do you differentiate one from the other? You probably need to offer something that is different, whether it's in skill sets, whether it's in context, whether it's in understanding of things, how you approach complicated questions, complicated issues being thrown at you. And another thing is you have to stay very inquisitive. Yeah, stay very inquisitive to show that you are someone that when it's being thrown at very difficult questions, you'll find ways. You have the processes to get you the answer. You don't have the answer. You may not have the answer, but you have the processes to be able to allow you to get that answer, and you are very inquisitive, very driven to find that answer. Now, as mentioned, it requires a lot of efforts. Now, to summarize, I want to put it into 4 E's here. One is you really need to excel where you are today to reach where you want to go. So a lot of people like you, currently you're not in investment yet. And it could be frustrating because you're driven to do investment, but you're not in that industry. Now, for potential employer, I mean, for people like me or other employers, they want to see that you can excel where you are. I believe no one is going to hire someone who is not doing well at their place currently. No employers will take that risk. I mean, the reason why you're going through the education and all that is to show that you can do well in the area being given to you, whether it's a series of studies that you're doing, or even your current job. It may not be investment related, it may not even be financial related, but they want proof that you can do well at your current place. If someone is not doing well at their current place, unlikely to be able to given the chance to do something completely different from what they are doing today. Okay, you have to excel where you are today to get where you want to go, which is investment. Second is, I think someone already mentioned, you need to expand your network. This is very, very important. I think 2/3 of the time, the hiring actually goes to people in the first or second degree of contact. So you really need to put out our effort to expand your network. Third, you have to enhance your skills. I think not just technical, not just your CFA, not just your Kaya or other technical stuff. You have to also improve your writing, interview, communication, a series of skill sets. You have to imagine that from a employer's perspective, what do they look for? Right? I mean, a lot of the candidates or applicants already have the technical. They already have secured the past the CFA level 1 to 3, whatever. They already have the technical. But beyond that, when they being shown the resume, and when you write an email to someone, is that a properly written email? Is that a properly written resume? I have seen a resume listing down skill sets of 15, 20 items. Do you really need to show 15 different skill sets? I mean, even if you have 15, could you actually summarize it into 3-4 categories? Right? I mean, if someone couldn't summarize things, it already show that this person it just not very good in thinking. right? If you have 15 items, you have to be able to summarize them. Yeah, because putting out 15 items is not going to get you anywhere. But if you'll be able to summarize it into broad categories, that will help you to get a job. But if you throw interests of 7 items, skill sets of 15, responsibilities of 25 items, that clearly show that this person is not organized. It's not able to summarize complicated things into bite size. Yeah, this is, you need to enhance not just a technical writing interview across different skill sets, because you are competing against the best of the best. The last thing is when you want to make a claims, whether it's for your skills or your responsibilities or your achievements, whatever that you want to make a claim on, you need to show that there are evidence behind it. So we probably in the future could have separate sessions on these, just on how do you evidence your claims across different platforms. But for me, it's extremely important when you make a claim, you have to back it out with facts and proof. Yeah, it has to have evidence. You cannot just make a claim that you're passionate about investment, but in your spare time, what do you do? I mean, I once received an email, someone that he say he's very passionate about investment, and in his free time, he read annual reports of Amazon, Google, Facebook. Right? I mean, it doesn't take long for the employers to get it. This guy is really passionate, right? Simple things like that. He evidenced it, so he nailed it. Now that summarized my my presentation here, and I want to wish you, for those who know, this is the Olympic motto. I wish you faster, higher, stronger in the future. Thank you very much. Back to you, Vinod.
I might steal your 4E framework if you don't mind, by the way. I will give you credit as per the CFA standards of professional conduct. Yeah.
Thank you.
It won't be plagiarism or misrepresentation. So I've got a few questions for you, and I've got a few emails and WhatsApp messages from various people who want their important queries answered. Yeah. I see a full in a government owned like MSNBT, like a dream job for many young candidates, right? What do you like about your job the most?
Thanks, Vinod. Yeah, I think it is an interesting investment career. I mean, I already very much said about pursuing this when I was already in the university pursuing finance, and I have always I always gravitate to investment. So as being the portfolio manager with a big bank here in the UAE, I must say it is quite an ideal situation. And yeah, I mean, being able to manage funds which is listed in Luxembourg, being able to manage portfolios for some of the biggest institutions in the region, it is quite a privilege, and I cherish that daily. I mean, when I wake up, this is what I think about: how do we help our client to meet their investment objectives and to ensure that we stay ahead of our peers. And that's what driven me on a daily basis. And I really cherish these opportunities it's given to me.
You need to evidence your claim, Richard. What is your fund Sharpe ratio? I'm just kidding.
I think we probably need a different session here. I think I may not be the best person to talk about it, because I probably want to put my risk manager to be in front of you to be able to go through it with you. Yes, yeah. But like I said, this is a very I cherish this career very much.
Thanks, Richard. Rajita Shah has a question. She just posted on on the chat box. She says, could you please elaborate on networking? How do you build this? A lot of times, sorry, I missed it. So what are some tips that you can share with someone at the start of their career and would like to connect, network with influential decision makers like CIOs, CFOs, directors, and staying connected with them? This is a question from Richard Shah. Yeah.
Yes, this is a good question. I think, but today actually, LinkedIn has made that possible, right? I mean, you can easily be connected with someone through LinkedIn, and just reach out. You send maybe 100 emails, you probably get 5 responses, but it's good. It's somewhere for you to get started. These 5 people that is willing to, to hear you out, to connect with you, that's fine, because you have to start somewhere. We can't be just sitting down and wait for the job to fall into the sky and into our laps. That is not possible. So you have to start somewhere, and LinkedIn is a good place. Now, when you do that, I will encourage you to write an email and say, look, I'm looking for a job. I know, I may not be the best candidate, but I am going to prove it. I'm going to work and prove it to you over the next 1 year that I am committed to this career. Very few of them reaching out to do that. Most of them, they say, I need a job. Can you find me a job? That's a no. That is not going to get you anywhere. But if you write differently, if you approach things differently and say, look, I am a young professional, I want to get into the job, and I'll appreciate it if you give me 1 or 2 pointers. I am going to show it to you, prove to you that I am committed. I'm willing to stay committed for the next 1 year finding this job. And if there's anything that I could help you in, whatever, some unpaid kind of projects I'm willing to do, then man, this sets you out in a different, it gives you different impression to others that you are indeed someone that's committed. You're not just another email looking for a job. There are just so many of these emails out there, I assure you. So you have to be different. You have to take this approach very differently, and you have to stay committed, and you have to show others that you're different. Yeah, and you have to start somewhere.
I think absolutely, I agree with you, Richard. And I think Kumar Prabhakaran also posed a similar question. Please, could you elaborate on networking, how to build this? Lots of times people don't respond to your LinkedIn connection, request messages, or in conferences, people stick to their tribe. How to network during COVID times? I mean, there are a lot of questions here, but I think the answers are very similar, right, Kumar? I get lots of requests and LinkedIn messages just like Richard does. And majority of them are, this is my CV, can you please refer me to someone or find me a job? Without saying anything about the person, without trying to build a relationship. Maybe I'm not even the right person to contact. Maybe somebody else is the right person to contact.
Yeah, I mean, your hit rate is not going to be 100%. It's not even 50%. Your hit rate is probably 5%, but you have to start with that 5% and make it. Yeah, because if you don't do that, 5% is indefinitely better than 0%. That I can assure you.
And I think going back to what Jay Pathak said in the earlier session, Richard, I mean, leverage LinkedIn to the max, not just by sending out messages, but also going through LinkedIn Premium. I mean, upgrade it, right? It's probably a worthwhile investment, to be honest. It's your career at stake here. And reach out to specific people, right? Portfolio managers, CIOs, senior analysts, right?
Yep. I mean, I think LinkedIn is a great place for you to evidence your claims as well, evidence that you are passionate about investment. When you found a interesting investment story, or you have some thoughts about, or your response to certain things happening around the world, put it out there. I mean, do some research, gather your thoughts, put it out there in some point forms. Please, maybe not a 10 pages thing. Put it in 3-4 points. Just put it out there, because that will be your evidence. A year later, when you got an interview, you can refer someone to say, hey, that's what I thought. That's why I expect things to turn out. And guess what? That's what it turned out. So you can evidence this. So LinkedIn is a great tool. So you should fully utilize it.
Yeah. Now, Richard, we've talked about this a few times before this session, right? I mean, you're a senior CFA charter holder, just like Ganesh, and I'm sure you receive a lot of requests for jobs and meetings and interactions and mentoring. What is that one thing that, and we've already talked about the thing that people shouldn't do when they reach out, right? But what are the, say, 3 things that makes you really want to mentor someone or help someone?
As I mentioned, Vinod, earlier, that I generally personally would reply to as many emails I come into contact with. But I think those that I would spend a little bit more time on is someone that has offer something that is different. Yeah, I mean, someone recently approached me, and he's very passionate about investment. He's writing blogs on it. He's posting those things on the LinkedIn and all that. So I would make it a point to help him to repost it or do that for him, because he is very committed. Now, if someone just send a resume over, like I said, it's not going to work, because there's just so many of them, right? Even if I want to remember it, it doesn't, because what's different from, I mean, this email from the others? It's not.
Something else, Richard, because this is again something I see quite often in this market, probably in India as well, right? Many youngsters want to get into investing, want to get into finance, right? But how can they shift into investment management or asset management if their experience has mainly been in financial accounting or management accounting or FP&A, or auditing, but they've passed all 3 levels of the CFA program. So how does someone like that, I mean, who's really hardworking, crack all 3 levels, maybe got a CPA or CA or ACCA, how does he break into investment management, Richard? What's the deal there?
Sure, this is a challenge faced by many, especially for mid-career change. It is actually more difficult than those who got into finance or investment after university. I think that tend to be probably an easier path, get into a trainee program. Now, for mid-career, it is more challenging, and you have to work extra hard to prove that you could do that. It has to happen, right? I mean, 2 out of the 5 contacts that I have who are currently in the investment field, they are mid-career. One from a corporate strategy, the other one from a audit, and they managed to secure a job as an analyst, because they show that they are very inquisitive. They show that they can stand on their feet to answer the questions when they are under tremendous pressure. They show that they are passionate about this, so they could actually get a mid-career change, but they will take a lot of effort. Like I say, you need to expand your effort, your network, a lot of efforts staying current with the market or world events, and you have to just add to your skill sets, whether it's writing, communication, or technical side. I mean, all these you have to keep doing, and it could happen next month, but it could take a year or 2. Unfortunately, this is a very challenging environment today. So you have to work extra hard. Right. That's the reality. I mean, if I may want to just share it here, if you write an email saying that I am well qualified, I'm extremely passionate, but I'm very disappointed, I'm not getting a job, I'm depressed, you know what? That just shows that probably the investment field is not for you, because investment field is quite a high pressure environment. If someone is disappointed and depressed because not being able to find the right career, I probably wouldn't want to take chance with such a person. you have to say that, despite the fact that the environment is challenging, man, I'm staying committed. I've stayed committed for the last 2 years. I'm going to stay committed for the next 2 years. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be coming back to you, next month with something different. And I don't mind sitting different people for a cup of coffee to learn about the investment career. You have to stay committed. I mean, if this is what you want.
No, good point. I think you need to demonstrate resilience and mental toughness, whether it's interviewing
Absolutely.
or career, job hunt, or at the job. It's not easy time. I got a question from Dhruvish Pujara, who's an equity analyst based in Mumbai, and he's got an interesting question, Richard. He says it's about the relevance of fundamental analysis in the next 2 to 3 years, next 2 to 3 decades, as the market becomes more efficient. So as a novice in investment management, he's asking, should a person learn coding / machine learning or focus only on understanding the fundamentals given how the future is likely to pan out? So what do you say as a fund manager?
I think you probably know the answer yourself, right? I mean, the fact that you're asking this kind of questions, it's probably you're drawn to that too. As I mentioned earlier, all skill sets are relevant. All skill sets are important. I think if you listen to Ganesh's conversation, yes, a lot of the processes could be actually being manned by AI. You don't probably need man or woman to do that. If it's additional skill set you can gain, why not? Why not? You should aim always to broaden your skill set so that you will stay ahead of competitors. You definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I mean that probably means does that mean? And there's another question I had for you. If you're a CFA charter holder or a CFA level 3 pass out, and you come from a commerce or finance or business background, you have no exposure to machine learning or advanced mathematics or statistics or computer programming, can you still survive in the new world of asset management?
Well, it really depends on the environment that you're going to. I think some of the buy side, would still very much run on a traditional kind of fundamental analysis mode. Yes, there will be some process to be, you can get some quant filters and stuff like that, but very much it's still driven by human intelligence. So I would still think that it will continue to stay relevant in the foreseeable futures. The reason is this. Now, if you have more and more of the strategies being adopted by AI, what does that mean? It's actually telling you that probably, if you have a human approach, that's where you could actually generate alpha, because the AI could actually turn out the similar kind of strategy. I mean, all these, whether it's passive, active, if they are like Ganesh mentioned, right? If they are so much passive out there, that is good news for the active, because you can generate quite a lot of alpha, because the passive would run the same way. That's when you can take advantage of that on the active side.
I've got a question from Priyanka, who is a CFA level 1 candidate and working in a big 4 firm in audit. And she just graduated recently. And her question is, it's often challenging for young grads to crack into investment management. It sometimes takes longer for a few than the rest. Employers often tend to question this gap. Is this a serious concern when it comes to employability as more and more students graduate into a pandemic?
As I mentioned earlier, that during the presentation, is that when I think the mid-career thing, it is quite a difficult switch. But if you do manage to get into the interview stage, for example, I think it helps you tremendously if you could really prepare yourself with a lot of evidence. Now, by the time you get an interview, it's probably too late to gather evidence to do that. So therefore, my encouragement for everyone is you have to start that process today. You have to to learn what is important for the investment management industry, and you probably need to evidence that, put it somewhere in LinkedIn, continue to stay up to date to current events, and be able to nail to ace that interview. I think if you could find some mentors who is willing to listen to you and give you the chance to practice your interview, I think that will be also very, very helpful. I think while listening to the earlier conversation with the other two speakers, I think another thought came to me that perhaps one of the events that we could do is actually a practice interviews that we can run for a group of 5 or something like that in the future, or for people like you. I mean, give you a chance to do that and maybe to improve on it.
Well, this question was not from a mid-career perspective, Richard. She's in her early 20s, quite young. So let me ask you, I mean, hypothetically, if someone was working in audit for a couple of years, but has evidenced a lot of things like investment research and came to you, would you look upon them favorably, hypothetically, although they have no experience in investment management?
Assuming we were looking for a junior role and fresh grad, if someone can write well, speak well, communicate well, understand some fundamental research, and has been able to attract our attention with their evidence, I think we will give it a go. We would.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got another question from one of the audience members who emailed me earlier. As an employer, when filling up a junior level position, like you mentioned earlier, would you prefer a candidate who has an overview of 4 to 5 sectors? I suppose you mean domains, right? Industries. Or a candidate who knows one sector but in great depth? As a fund manager, an employer, what would you prefer?
They are equally good. They are equally good. I mean, because we constantly look at different companies, different industry, and different region. If someone can look at one company or one industry, one sector doing very well in that area, it's very likely that person can replicate that into other areas. So, and equally, if someone has a very broad overview, I think given the opportunity, someone could actually drill deep into something and do well. They are, to me, they are equal. I mean, it's like asking someone, whether it's graduate with chemistry or biology, which one is better. I mean, they are equally better, equally good.
The reason I found that question relevant, Richard, is because in the GCC, in the UAE, you don't have much depth. Industries are smaller, there are fewer companies. So maybe specialization is not necessarily encouraged. You are more rewarded if you're a generalist. Am I right?
You see, maybe if you're talking about sell-side research, then it's quite a different environment where they only look at a handful of companies at one time or one particular industry. So they are very specialist approach. But if I were to look for a hiring the next person, I don't mind specialist. I don't mind someone, let's say, has been working in a petrochemical plant for the last 5 years. Someone who knows the in and out of petchem business. Yeah, I don't mind having that, because that will also augment the skill sets that we have in our team. Things like that. Yeah.
Good. I think we have reached the end of the questions. Does anyone else in the audience have any questions for Richard Lee? He's been in the region for nearly 2.5 years and can throw light on any questions which would normally not get answered. I think probably that's it for questions, Richard. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
I think it's been quite interesting, quite insightful as well. And thank you so much for taking the time, Richard, to prepare the presentation.
You're most welcome.
And
thank you, everyone.
And really look all the best for everyone. And maybe you can reach out to Richard later via LinkedIn, following the protocol that we all discussed, obviously.
Yeah. I wish you all, faster, higher, stronger.
Thank you. Wrap up, a big thank you to everyone who attended, the speakers who made time to prepare and deliver their talks and patiently answered my questions, and also to you, the participants. A big thank you to Pooja Variani, my co-moderator and event administrator, and also to Ali Asgar and his team back in Mumbai who put up the landing page and Facebook ads and things like that, right? I really hope the webinar met and hopefully even exceeded your expectations. Let me know your thoughts in terms of how this event went, and very importantly, because this is the first career talk from the Real Finance Mentor, but I plan to continue the series. Do let me know what topics you want covered at future webinars. And I will try and get top-notch speakers. We have connections, and organize more of this impactful webinars, right? I hope to connect with you soon. I'm available on LinkedIn, as you all know. Send me messages, or you can email me. And have a nice day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you found it insightful and inspirational. If you did enjoy this episode, please drop us a review and spread the word. And be sure to check out more exclusive content on therealfinancementor.com and my LinkedIn profile, which is Binod Shankar CFA. Let's keep in